All right. Gave y'all a handout.
So you're figuring out your software, huh?
Yes, I am. It's really cool. Like I said, y'all gonna hate me soon. I'll be doing this right in the middle of my message. Y'all need to take a test.
You don't have to put me in a corner or something. I was getting
Good thing I don't have no dunce hats.
So is that Sinai?
Huh?
Is that Sinai?
Yes. I was gonna see that was one of the questions. Now. Sounds. Turn sound off. Wait a minute, that's not the right one. Notification volume. Ringtone. There we go. All right. All right, we're going to get to this, but y'all can be working on it if you want to, or you can work on it here when we get to it. I already turned it on. You weren't there.
Well, you know.
All right.
Faith Baptist Church of Lancaster is now live.
We are live. I'm not really sure I like the whole live. I do, but I don't. The main reason we always went live is sitting right there.
Now you have to be accountable.
I know, right?
And Dave and Judy.
I know. Dave and Judy, too. Dave and Judy, hello. Bill and Helen, if you're watching, hello. Anyway, let's go ahead and pray, and we'll kind of jump right into this here. Lord, we want to thank you for allowing us to gather together this evening just to come together and read your word. I pray that you can use me to say the things that you want said, and so that your people hear your word. Lord, I just pray for our country, Lord. I have no idea which way things are going right now. And Lord, we just, we know you're in charge. You're the king. Whatever happens, happens. And we trust you. We trust you with our country. We trust you with our lives. And you made us promises that we trust. Lord, just be with us. Be with those in charge. And like I say, Lord, I don't know what to, how else to put it. Lord, I love you. And pray that you go with us this evening as we're reading your word, Lord, in Jesus' name. Amen. Okay, so the last time we were all together, which was not this past week, but the week before, we left Israel as they were rescued from slavery. I think we ended on chapter 18, didn't we? Or was it 7? It was 17. We read to the beginning of 18.
Yeah, we finished 17.
We finished 17. So Israel had just been rescued from slavery. They had traveled through the Red Sea and had a great big old party on the other side. But then as they traveled on towards the promised land, they hit a few snags, didn't they? Anybody remember what a couple of those snags were? What happened? They got hungry. They got thirsty. And they had an attack. All right, good deal. The deal here is that they complained against God and they complained against Moses, right? They were saying that Moses had brought them all out to the wilderness to what? To die, to starve to death. Okay? And then God came along and he fixed their problem. right? He took care of it, right? He gave them meat to eat in the evening, and he gave them manna, bread to eat in the morning. And then he gave them water to drink out of a rock, right? Out of a rock. And as long as things were going their way, right? As long as everything was going Israel's way, everybody was fat and happy. Okay? There's some food back there and a table right there you can sit at to eat. But toss a small monkey wrench into the mix, like something like, not believing that God would take care of something as big as food and water, right? The things that we need to live, and they complain, much like us. Okay? We're fine as long as everything's going good, aren't we? Yeah? We're good. But as soon as somebody throws even the smallest of wrenches into our life, right, we start to complain over and over and over again. Lord, why me? What have I done? Yada, yada, yada. Oh, woe is me. In reality, we're no different than the children of Israel. Okay? Anyways, back to where we were. Everything was going great for the children of Israel. God had filled their stomachs. He gave them all the water they could drink. But God knew that they were going to have to fight once they got to the promised land. What was the first attack all about? Okay, he knew that they were going to have to fight. And when I say fight, I don't mean a little bit of wrestling, right? I mean all out, fight to the death kind of fight. Okay, the people that were in the promised land at that time, they weren't going to give it up easily. They're not going to give it up easy at all. And so God decided that he needed to show them that not only did they have nothing to worry about once they got there, but that he was also going to take care of them during their battles, okay? All the battles that they were going to end up having to fight. God wanted to show them, look, I'm going to be there. I'm going to take care of you. And so I'm going to throw you into this little battle here just to show you that I'm going to take care of you. Enter the Amalekites. Almost got it. As they're traveling, they come to the land of Amalek, and Amalek began to fight with them. So Moses tells Joshua, he says, what I want you to do is, he says, I want you to go out and fight, and tomorrow, or I want you to go out and fight tomorrow, right? And I'm going to go up and I'm going to stand on the hill, right? And I'm going to stand there with the rod of God in my hand. Now, if it was me, I would have probably said, I'm going to go up on the hill and I'm going to sit down and I'm going to pray. Because I think he got himself over his head a little bit here, okay? But in other words, what he was telling them is God is going to be right there with them, and he's going to fight the battles for them. Right? But not only for us, he's going to fight them through us. You got it? God is saying, I'm going to fight your battles, but you can't go sit on the sidelines and watch me fight the battles. I'm going to fight the battles, but I'm going to fight them through you. Okay? Isn't that a really good explanation of what God does for us today? We still today have to go out and fight battles. Right, Kathy? Every day. Man, every day of our life can be a battle. But as long as we have God with us, as long as we place God first in our lives and first in our battles, guess what? He's going to fight for us. He's going to fight for us, right? That does, like I said, that don't mean that we get to sit down and watch while God's dons his weapons and fights our problems and all of our battles for us. No, it means that we go out and we fight the battle. He just makes sure he gives us the strength and the power and the wisdom, right, that we need to win those battles. And sometimes we don't really feel like it sometimes, right? But he does. He gives, as long as we trust in him, we can get through it. And you're living proof, man. We can get through it. Whatever comes, whatever battles we have to fight, as long as we place God first in our lives, he's there for us. He's going to give us all that we need to get through it. And so if we were to look at our story here, okay, as Moses stood on the hilltop, Joshua went to war. And as long as God was front and center, right? As long as he is front and center, as long as Moses held the rod in the air in front of him, what happened? Israel won, right? But as soon as the cares of the world and the pain of living in the world that presents to us, through Moses lowering his hand, right? Because of the pain that he was feeling and the fatigue that he was going through, having to hold this thing up in the air, what happened? Israel lost, right? They began losing. Again, this is a picture of us, okay? This is a picture of us and how God fights for us as long as we keep him front and center, okay? As long as we keep him held high above us. Not that he takes our problems away, okay? Not that he removes the hard times that we have to deal with in our life. He never took away the fact that Moses, an something-year-old man, right, had to hold his hands over his head for what I'm assuming felt to him like a lifetime, right? He never took that away. He never took the pain away. Okay? He still had to deal with it, and so do we. We still have to deal with it on a daily basis, all right? We have to deal with the pains of war. We have to deal with the pains of our problems in our lives, but we have to keep him first. We have to remember that he is first. We have to keep him front and center in our life if we're ever going to win a battle. Did you hear me? If we're ever going to win a battle, we have to keep him in front of us, okay? And then, okay, not only did God show them that they were going to have to fight some battles, and not only did he show them that some of their battles are going to be hard, and that as long as they kept him front and center, they had nothing to worry about, but he also taught them something else. Anybody want to take a wild guess at what else he taught them? I want you to see this, okay? He taught them that no matter what battle they were fighting, they couldn't do it alone. I want you to flip it over to Exodus chapter 17. And we're just going to read this real quick here. Exodus 17, verse 12. Exodus 17:12 says, "But Moses' hands became heavy. So they took a stone and put it under him, and he sat on it. And Aaron and Hur supported his hands, one on one side and the other on the other side. And his hands were steady until the going down of the sun." In other words, as each and every one of us are fighting our battles, the rest of us should be helping each other out. Did you see that? You know, we should be holding each other up when we need help. You know, we all have little battles that we have to fight each and every day. With some of us, it may just be, getting ourselves out of bed. Maybe the loss of a loved one or a serious health issue. Maybe something that we have allowed to take over our life that maybe we shouldn't have, you know? But whatever it might be, and here's the beautiful part, we shouldn't have to handle these things by ourselves. I know sometimes we think we do, don't we? You see, that's what our brothers and sisters are for. You see, that's what church is really all about. That's why God says not to forsake the assembling of ourselves together. It's not just so that we can worship Him, but it's so that we can grow a bond as a group and as a people in order to help each other out, okay? Too many people think that all they have to do is come to church and listen to a sermon and rush out the door and go home. But come on, people, that's not really what it's about. Okay, that's not the case. Church is not just a place for worship. It's also a place that brothers and sisters can come together and help each other out, help hold each other up when we become weary and feeling defeated, man. When we are just down and out, this should be a safe zone, a safe place that we can come and we can voice our problems and voice our issues, you know? Hey, man, you know what? I got a really bad drinking problem. I don't, okay? But I got a really bad drinking problem. Should the people in the church condemn me and throw me out? No. They should hold you up and try to help you in any way, shape, or form that they possibly can. You know, it should be somewhere where we can come and voice these things and not be judged by our brothers and sisters, but helped up, man. You know, dude, I'm having a serious problem with this or with that. I mean, it should seriously be someplace that we can come and our brothers and sisters goes, you know what? That's okay. I'm here to help you. What can I do? How can I help you out? We should be able to hold each other's arms up, man, and say, this is how this is what we need to do. This is who we are. You know? We all need to be a little bit more like Aaron and Hur and help a brother or sister out when they're having problems. You guys don't have to face problems alone. I guarantee, man, I am so happy that God placed me in this church. It might not be a big, massive congregation. It might not be a big, huge church, but I'm happy that I'm here because I think that you people above anybody else that I know of gets that. I honestly feel that I can come in here and voice what I'm having a problem with, and y'all ain't going to judge me. You're going to help me out. And I want you guys to feel the same way. This is what a church is supposed to be. This is the picture of what a church is supposed to be. Moses having a problem. Man, I can't hold this. I need help. And two brothers come alongside and say, here, let me help you. That's what church, that's a picture of what church is. Anyway, okay. That's where we ended. Okay, that's where we ended, and that was the lesson of the very first battle that God took Israel through, okay? And then for some reason, we kind of skip over Jethro's, which is Moses' father-in-law's advice that he gave to Moses in chapter 18. Basically, Moses was trying to do everything himself. To put it lightly, he was wore out. He was tired, okay? All the people were coming to him to help him, to get him to help them through their problems. And it was tearing him apart. How many people were there? Remember we talked about this last time. How many people were there? Millions. So Moses would get up in the morning and there would be a line as far as he could see of people needing help. Right? And so what could he do? He had to help them. He had to listen to their problems and judge their problems and tell them what God would do. And he did. Man, it was just getting too much on him and he was tired. Now, because he was doing this, what was not getting done? What God wanted him to do was not getting done because he was so busy taking care of everybody's problems. He was supposed to be there to lead the people, right? He was there to lead God's people, not settle an argument over whose manna was bigger than the other guys, or who got more meat at dinner that day, or whatever the problem may have been or may not have been. That wasn't what he was supposed to do. But man, it was just getting tiring on him, and he was tired. And so Jethro comes in, and he's like, dude, you got a problem, right? Basically, Moses needed to hear that he shouldn't be doing everything himself, okay? He was wearing himself out. You see, he was, like I said, he was leading several million people and animals, even more animals than people, okay, across the desert. And they were depending on him for every little thing. And so, like I say, Moses' father-in-law, Jethro, he sees this happening, and he steps up, and he pulls Moses aside, and he tells him that he was burning himself out and that he needed some help. In fact, let's read that little part real quick. Exodus 18, verse 12. Exodus 18, verse 12. It says, then Jethro, Moses' father-in-law, took a burnt offering and other sacrifices to offer to God. And Aaron came with all the leaders of Israel to eat bread with Moses' father-in-law before God. And so it was on the next day that Moses sat to judge the people. And the people stood before Moses from morning until evening. Man, I couldn't even imagine listening to that many problems in one day. We were sitting back here talking about problems that we have. Who knows what's going to happen? We got all these problems. And after 5 minutes, I was pretty much done listening to it. It was like, you know what? I'm done with it, right? But this guy listened to these problems from morning until evening every single day. So when Moses' father-in-law saw all that he did for the people, he said, what is this thing you are doing for the people? Why do you alone sit and all the people stand before you from morning until evening? And Moses said to his father-in-law, because the people come to me to inquire of God. When they have a difficulty, they come to me, and I judge between one and another, and I make known the statutes of God and his laws. So Moses' father-in-law said to him, the thing that you do is not good. He says, remember Moses, when you guys were in the battle just a little while ago, right? Even you needed help to prop your hands up, right? Even you needed help. He says, look, what you're doing is wrong. You needed help then, and guess what? You need some help right now. And that kind of this, right? And he agrees with him. Sets up a group of people to help him deal with everything that he was dealing with, which then opened up some of Moses' time to allow him to do what God wanted him to do. Okay? Because he was, like I say, he was so busy doing what everybody else was doing that he had totally left out what God needed him to be doing. And that was actually leading the people. All right? And then we get to where we are tonight. We're going to pick up in Exodus chapter 19. So if you got your Bibles, your phones, your tablets, or whatever it is you read from, and I hope you do. I mean, this is Bible Reading Wednesday after all. It's kind of hard to read the Bible without a Bible. Right? You're all right. Anyways, let's start reading here. Exodus chapter 19. I'm going to cover as much of this as I can, probably into, we usually split it in half and do half this and half next. I'm going to try to push through this as quickly as I can to get all of that out of the way so we can start on the next segment. You might get a little bit, but in fact, you will get a little bit. So, y'all got the picture up here, okay? You don't have to put it on the screen. It's okay. We have a picture up here. This picture is Mount Sinai. Mount Sinai. This is the mountain that Moses went up on to get the 10 Commandments. Okay? Doesn't look quite as big as what you might think, does it? But this is Mount Sinai. Kathy, have you actually been there? No? So this is, like I say, this is Mount Sinai. This is where they were when all of this happens. Okay? Now, I always pictured this huge mountain, right? That would take Moses 2 days to climb and 2 days to get back down. I never, in my wildest imagination, thought it would be that. But that's the mountain, okay? That's Mount Sinai. So, chapter 19, verse 1. In the 3rd month, after the children of Israel had gone out of the land of Egypt, on the same day, they came to the wilderness of Sinai. For they had departed from Rephidim, had come to the wilderness of Sinai, and camped in the wilderness. Again, I would have never thought that would be a wilderness, but it is, right? It's the desert, which they called the wilderness at that time, okay? And Moses went up to God. So he went up the side of this mountain here. Now, it's a picture, so I don't know exactly how big it is, but it doesn't look massively big to me. But it does look like it would be hard for an 80-year-old man to climb, okay? It says, and Moses went up to God, and the Lord called to him from the mountain, saying, thus you shall say to the house of Jacob, and tell the children of Israel, you have seen what I did to the Egyptians, and how I bore you on eagle's wings and brought you to myself. Now, therefore, if you will indeed obey my voice and keep my covenant, then you shall be a special treasure to me above all people, for all the earth is mine. Kind of sounds like my message this last week, doesn't it? And you shall be to me a kingdom of priests and a holy nation. These are the words which you shall speak to the children of Israel. So Moses came down the mountain, okay? He came and called for the elders of the people and laid before them all the words which the Lord commanded him. Then all the people answered together and said, all that the Lord has spoken, we will do. So Moses brought back the words of the people to the Lord. Now he's climbing the mountain again. All right. Second time. And the Lord said to Moses, behold, I come to you in a thick cloud, that the people may hear when I speak with you and believe you forever. So Moses comes back down the mountain. So Moses told the words of the people to the Lord. Then the Lord said to Moses, go to the people and consecrate them today and tomorrow, and let them wash their clothes, and let them be ready for the 3rd day. For on the 3rd day the Lord will come down upon Mount Sinai in the sight of all the people. You shall set boundaries for the people all around, saying, take heed to yourself, that you do not go up to the mountain or touch its base. Whoever touches the mountain shall surely be put to death. Not a hand shall touch him, but he shall surely be stoned or shot with an arrow. Whether man or beast, he shall not live. When the trumpet sounds long, they shall come near the mountain. So Moses went down from the mountain to the people and sanctified the people, and they washed their clothes. And he said to the people, be ready for the 3rd day. Do not come near your wives. Never mind. I'm not even going to say that. Then it came to pass on the 3rd day in the morning that there were thunderings and lightning and a thick cloud on the mountain. I can almost picture it, right? If you look there, the lightning and the thunder and the cloud beginning to wrap itself around the top of the mountain. Okay? And the sound of the trumpet was very loud. so that all the people who were in the camp trembled. Now, if you look here, they're in the valley or they're in this big area, and I imagine a loud trumpet would carry pretty far in that place, wouldn't you? It would carry a pretty far distance. And Moses brought the people out of the camp to meet with God, and they stood at the foot of the mountain. They stood at the foot of the mountain. Now, Mount Sinai was completely in smoke. So you picture that mountain completely covered in smoke. Because the Lord descended upon it in fire. Its smoke ascended like the smoke of a furnace. Y'all seen some war movies where they blow something up, man, and that black smoke just rolls up into the air. That's what's going on here. And the whole mountain quaked greatly. And when the blast of the trumpet sounded long and became louder and louder, Moses spoke, and God answered him by voice. Man, that had to be something, man, to hear. The people heard God's voice. They were gathered around this mountain, and they heard someone's voice coming out of the smoke. Okay, for all they knew, they didn't know. They didn't know God then. They didn't know Moses was sent, except for the miracles that maybe happened, right, or that did happen, right? They didn't know that it was God. Okay, these people they'd been in Egypt for a really long time. But now they're standing. For all they knew, Moses could have been some yahoo that was like, yeah, here I am. I'm here to rescue you, right? In fact, during the golden calf episode, what did they say? Moses, this man who brought us out of Egypt, right? They didn't say anything about God. They were like, Moses, this guy who brought us up out of Egypt, we don't know what happened to him. We don't know where he went. So as far as they're concerned, Moses, could have been doing this all by himself. But now they hear the voice coming out of the smoke, right? Then the Lord came down upon Mount Sinai on the top of the mountain. And the Lord called Moses to the top of the mountain, and Moses went up. I don't know about y'all, but if I was Moses and the mountain just quaked and shook and rocks come tumbling down off the mountain and it's covered in smoke and fire, I'd be a little afraid to be climbing the mountain in that, wouldn't you? I mean, I would be anyway. And the Lord said to Moses, go down and warn the people. Wait a minute, God. You just called me up here. I just scaled the face of this mountain, and now you're telling me to go down and warn the people? I just did warn the people, right? Let's keep on reading. Go down and warn the people lest they break through to gaze at the Lord, and many of them perish. Also, let the priests who come near the Lord consecrate themselves, lest the Lord break out against them. But Moses said to the Lord, exactly what I said. He's like, but Lord, really? He says, the people cannot come up to Mount Sinai, for you warned us, saying, set the bounds around the mountain and consecrate it. And the Lord said to him, away! Do what I told you to do, right? Get down and then come up, you and Aaron. Wait a minute. Now you want me to go back down, tell them what I just told them, and then come back up. This is an old man who has to walk with a staff, okay? He had to have, you'd think, right? But I don't think he did. I don't know. Then the Lord said to him, away, get down and then come up, you and Aaron with you. But do not let the priests and the people break through to come up to the Lord, lest he break out against them. So Moses went down to the people and spoke to them. And God spoke all these words. Now, I've said this before. Who did God give the 10 Commandments to the very first time? Everyone. All of Israel. He didn't just, it's not the Charlton Heston movie where he goes up on the mountain and God talks to him and he writes him down on a stone. Okay? That's not how it happened. Remember, God is speaking. Moses is down now. He's down the mountain. And God told him, when I come down, I'm going to speak so that everyone hears me. And God spoke all these words saying, I am the Lord your God who brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. You shall have no other gods before me. How many people got that one on their paper? You shall not make for yourself a carved image, graven images, any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. You shall not bow down to them nor serve them. For I, the Lord your God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children to the third and fourth generations of those who hate me, but showing mercy to thousands, to those who love me and keep my commandments. You shall not take
The name of the Lord thy God.
in vain, for the Lord will not hold him guiltless who takes.
His name in vain.
Remember the Sabbath to keep it holy. 6 days you shall labor to do all your work, but the seventh day is the Sabbath to the Lord of the Lord your God. In it you shall do no work, you nor your son, nor your daughter, nor your male servant, nor your female servant, nor your cattle, nor your stranger who is within your gates. For in 6 days the Lord made the heavens and the earth, the sea and all that is in them, and rested the seventh day. Therefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it. Honor
Thy father and thy mother.
that your days may be long upon the land which the Lord your God is giving you. You shall not
Kill.
murder, kill. You shall not
Commit adultery.
commit adultery. You shall not steal. You shall not against your neighbor. You shall not covet your
Neighbors.
neighbor's house. You shall not covet your
Neighbors.
wife, nor his male servant, nor his female servant, nor his ox, nor his donkey, nor anything that is your neighbor's. No. Now all the people witnessed the thunderings, the lightning flashes, the sound of the trumpet, and the mountain smoking. And when the people saw it, they trembled and stood afar off. Then they said to Moses, you speak with us, and we will hear. But let not God speak with us, lest we die. You got the big group of people. They're at the base of this mountain, right? The smoke, the lightning, the fire, the thundering voice, the 10 commandments, and they go, yeah, we don't want no part of that. You go ahead and do all that, and you just come back and tell us what he says, right? And Moses said to the people, do not fear, for God has come to test you, and that his fear may be before you, so that you may not sin. So the people stood afar off, but Moses drew near the thick darkness where God was. Then the Lord said to Moses, thus you shall say to the children of Israel, you have seen that I have talked with you from heaven. You shall not make anything to be with me. Gods of silver or gods of gold you shall not make for yourselves. An altar of earth you shall make for me, and you shall sacrifice on it your burnt offerings and your peace offerings, your sheep and your oxen. In every place where I record my name, I will come to you and I will bless you. And if you make me an altar of stone, you shall not build it of hewn stone. For anybody know what that means?
Like carved.
Carved, yes. anything that a tool has touched. In other words, just raw rocks. Yeah. Don't try to make bricks. You just pick up a rock and stack it on top of each other, is basically what he says. For if you use your tool on it, you have profaned it. In other words, what God made is perfect just the way it is. God made us, Chris, you're perfect the way you are. You know, we're all that way. Each and every one of us, God made us, and we're perfectly the way that God wants us. The rocks were perfect. Don't mess with them, right? Nor shall you go up by steps to my altar, that your nakedness may not be exposed on it. Then we skip all the way down to chapter 24, but in Tom fashion, okay? Chapter 21 covers laws concerning servants, okay? And as soon as we hear that, the very first thing that we normally think of, right? We hear about Israel having servants, right? The children of Israel had servants.
That was one thing that I really meant to keep wanting to ask you about because it was driving me nuts.
We're going to learn about it right here and right now. We always think, you know, when we hear that, how could God be okay with them keeping slaves, right? That's kind of what we think, right?
Well, yeah, they just got out of bondage and now they're talking about, you know, having servants.
Right. But the fact of the matter is they weren't per se slaves, okay? Basically, what they were doing is they worked for their owners or masters, okay? And they were supposed to be taken care of, all right? Not like slaves like you would think with the whips and beat them and get them to move rocks like the Egyptians did, okay? They were supposed to work for these people and they were supposed to be taking, let's say for instance, that you borrowed $10,000 from me and you couldn't pay me back. You lost your job for some reason, and you couldn't pay me back. So instead of throwing you in prison or having you beat or whatever, right? The person that owed the money, okay, could work off the debt.
Yeah, but only 6 years.
All the while being taken care of.
Yeah.
And no matter how much you were in debt to me, whether it was 10,000 or 10 million, okay, you only had to work 6 years.
But they had all these stipulations upon leaving at the end of that time.
Yes, there are. Now, like I said, they're not servants as in slave servants, but there are some why he had those, I don't know. Okay? But there are a few stipulations.
Well,
And that's what we're going to get to.
I can understand why some people might have been okay with even still being servants. Say you have, more than I. Well, I need your help. So if I'm going to come and be your servant, and you just got out of bondage.
Hey, not Abraham. I can't think. No, the president. Abraham Lincoln, right? Abraham Lincoln, when he freed the slaves, right? There were a lot of slaves that didn't want to go. They wanted to continue working because this was the life that they had, and they had a good life. They were treated very well, part of the family, right? And that's some of that stipulation that he's given here, okay? So let's go ahead and get into that, okay? Just so that we understand it a little better when we come to times when they start talking about servants later. Okay, like I said, there's a few strange things in this, but all in all, I hope y'all see that God is just, with this stipulation, he's just taking care of his people is what he's doing. Okay, He's not okay in slavery. So let's read in Exodus 21, verse 1. Now these are the judgments which you shall set before them. If you buy a Hebrew servant, he shall serve 6 years. In the 7th year, he shall go out free and pay nothing. If he comes in by himself, he shall go out by himself. If he comes in married, then his wife shall go out with him. If his master has given him a wife, and she has borne him sons or daughters, the wife and her children shall be her master's, and he shall go out by himself. But if the servant plainly says, I love my master, my wife, and my children, I will not go out free, then his master shall bring him to the judges. He shall also bring him to the door or to the doorpost, and his master shall pierce his ear with an awl, and he shall serve him forever. If a man sells his daughter to be a female slave, she shall not go out as the male slaves do. If she does not please her master, who has betrothed her to himself. So this is kind of like saying a wife. I think this is kind of saying a wife as they're calling a wife a slave, kind of. That's in my opinion. I may be wrong, but that's what because it says betrothed, or that's what, that's their wedding, their marriage thing. They were be betrothed to someone. So if she does not please her master, who has betrothed her to himself, then he shall let her be redeemed. So somebody could buy her dad could buy her back. Somebody from the family could take her back. Okay. We find that in Ruth. So that could happen. He shall have no right to sell her to a foreign people. He can't just sell her off. Okay. Since he has dealt deceitfully with her. And if he has betrothed her to his son, so he marries her off to his son, then she shall become his daughter, basically. He shall deal with her according to the custom of daughters. If he takes another wife, he shall not diminish her food, her clothing, and her marriage rights. And if he does not do these 3 for her, then she shall go out free without paying money. So, as you see, it's not a slave master type relationship, okay? It's more of a working off your debt kind of thing. It's kind of where it was going, okay? That's what he was saying. So not everybody's going to have the same amount of money. Not everybody's going to be the same. Not everybody's going to be able to. Some people I get in trouble sometimes, right? We all do. And it'd be nice but when I got in that trouble, I could, come and just work my debt off and do my 6 years and go on, right?
Well, but they're still talking about buying a Hebrew servant.
Right. I loan you money. You can't pay me back. So I just bought you for 6 years. That's the key there. Would you rather me buy you for 6 years, or would you rather be killed or put in prison?
Well, I'm just.
But it's the way they talked. You're getting that language mixed up.
Yeah.
It's not buying. It's not I'm going to buy you. Okay. It's you got in trouble, and so I'm allowing you to work your debt off.
It's the way that they're wording it that is messing with everything.
Right. You have to get rid of that idea. This is old Hebrew and old time, right?
Well,
It's not the same.
And how many times has it been translated?
Right. Well, it's still in that form, okay? It was considered that way. You can't pay me, so now I own you. You hear that today.
Yeah.
You hear that right now.
Yeah.
Look, you can't pay your debt. I own you now, right? That's kind of the same situation that he was saying here. So get that buying. He's not going out on the corner and buying a slave or buying a servant or buying somebody. He's allowing them to work their debt off.
Well, then what's your take on when they're talking about selling somebody? Are you selling off their debt to somebody else?
He says you're not allowed to sell to a foreigner. Not allowed to sell to a foreigner. So yeah, I could sell if Jimmy over here, he's got more money and he wants to pay off your debt, then you work for him. But he's still part of your group. We're still all family. We're all working together. You know, Gary comes along and he goes, Dave's a good worker, Tom. How about I buy his debt and he come work at my farm for a while?
I got stuff for you to do, man.
See there? He's got lots of work to do, man. So that was the selling. He's not allowed, you know, I'm not allowed to go out here on a corner and sell you to any yahoo out here. It's got to be to somebody that's part of the family. These are family. They're all brothers. You know, it's all one big family.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of it's family taking care of family. But not letting you get away with borrowing $100,000 and just going, oh, well, he's my brother. He's okay. You know, no, look, you got yourself in a mess. I'm giving you a chance to get out of it with dignity. You know, you get out of it after 6 years, you work, you serve, you're done, and you still come out of it with dignity, with your pride, and with everything that you already had. You didn't have to give up your land. You didn't have to give up anything that you had, because you come out debt-free now. Does that make sense? Kind of?
Oh, it's supported too.
Right.
Give them food, shelter.
Now, a family member, if you go back to Ruth, okay, so you're not my immediate brother, you're my cousin, okay? Now, your immediate brother could come to me and pay your debt and redeem you. And then you're good. Okay, so that was from Ruth. That was from the story of Ruth. If you read there, you know, a kinsman, an actual brother, a part of your immediate family can come in and redeem you, redeem your debt. And then as soon as that debt's paid off, you're gone. You're free. You know, you don't have to work my potato field anymore. Okay. So it's totally different. The slave portion here is totally different than what you're thinking. That's why I wanted to attack this, because a lot of people see that and they start thinking, oh, well, you know, I even hear it. Oh, God approved slaves. No, he didn't. He didn't approve slaves. He approved being able to work your debt off, basically. Okay. Let's keep going here. Then it goes into laws concerning violence and animal control. Great laws. If you want to read those are really good. Chapter 22, responsibility for property, moral and ceremonial practice principles. Chapter 23 was justice, laws of the Sabbath, 3 annual feasts. And then he talks a little bit about angels. He talks a little bit about angels here in chapter 23. If you want to go to verse 20, I want to read just a couple verses here. 23 verse 20. It says, behold, I send an angel before you to keep you in the way. What's he saying? Sending somebody out there to watch over him, right? To help him do the right thing, and to bring you into the place which I have prepared. In other words, I've got an angel out there that's going to help you get into the land, okay? He says, but beware of him and obey his voice. Do not provoke him, for he will not pardon your transgressions, for my name is in him. But if you indeed obey his voice and do all that I speak, then I will be an enemy to your enemies and an adversary to your adversaries. I'm going to take care of you from the beginning. Okay, my angel is going to watch over you. And as long as you do what he tells you, as long as you're doing the right thing, right? I'm going to be an enemy to your enemies and an adversary to your adversaries. For my angel will go before you and bring you into the Amorites and the Hittites and the Perizzites and the Canaanites and the Hivites and the Jebusites, and I will cut them off. This was before they actually rejected going into the land. Okay? And he tells them, look, I'm going to send my angel and he's going to get you there. It's all good, right? He says, you shall not bow down to their gods, nor serve them, nor do according to their works, but you shall utterly overthrow them and completely break down their sacred pillars. So you shall serve the Lord your God, and he will bless your bread and your water. And I will take sickness away from the midst of you. No one shall suffer miscarriage or be barren in your land. I will fulfill the number of your days. I will send my fear before you. I will cause confusion among all the people to whom you come, and will make all your enemies turn their backs to you. And I will send hornets before you, which will drive out the Hivite, the Canaanite, and the Hittite from before you. Now, here's the part I want you to see. Okay? This is a brilliant plan. All right? Verse 29. I will not drive them out from before you in 1 year, lest the land become desolate and the beasts of the field become too numerous for you. Has anybody in here noticed that? Little by little, I will drive them out from before you until you have increased and you inherit the land. And I will set your bounds from the Red Sea to the Sea Philistia, and from the desert to the river. For I will deliver the inhabitants of the land into your hand, and you shall drive them out before you. You shall make no covenant with them, nor with their gods. They shall not dwell in your land, lest they make you sin against me. For if you serve their gods, it will surely be a snare to you. Do you see how crazy smart this idea was that God has? The land flowing with milk and honey was bigger than the amount of people that were moving into it. You get it? And so God, he could have went down there and he could have just whoosh, wiped them all out, said, there's your land. But there wasn't enough people to take care of the land. And so the land would just grow up and become unusable. And they all want, we have deer tags and elk tags and stuff like that to keep the population down, right? So that's why we hunt, to keep the population down. God was keeping the population down while he moved his people in. Okay? If they would have moved in right then, right, all at once, the land would have been overtaken eventually by wild animals and beasts and all this stuff. And the land, it would have been harder to deal with, right? You would have had all these cities that are overgrown and destroyed. God was giving them the best of the best. When they moved in, the cisterns were already working. The fields were ready to go. There was fruit. There was harvest. Everything was good, right? If God would have wiped them all out and moved in this little band of, millions of people, but still small compared to the land size, the land would have been too much for them. And they would have had to start all over again as they moved through the land. And so as I'm reading this, I'm like, wow, that is awesome. God prepared, right? He says, I'm not going to drive them all out in a year. I'm going to drive them out a little bit at a time. And as you grow, right, little by little, I will drive them out from before you until you have increased. As you increase in number, we'll clear out a little more land. And then you get a little bigger, we'll take a few more out. And that's how they were going to do this. God's smart, right? I read that and I was like, holy cow, that is really good. I would have never thought of that, right? I would have been like, that's my land, get out of it. But God says, no, that's not how we're doing it, right? All right, now we're getting into Exodus 24. Now, Dave, as we go here, I'm going to get to certain parts. So I want you to minimize this. Okay, and click the next one back there.
Your hand don't work like Moses.
I know, right? And then blow that one up.
Blow this up.
Yeah, the big green dot up there. Just, yeah, the green dot. Boom. All right, there we go. So as we go, and then you'll use the arrow keys to flip through, okay?
Maybe scoot in a little closer. You know that thing.
I know, it blew it up a little bit, but it's not massive because, well, we'll get there. Okay. I tend to, when I go through this, because it's a lot of detail, okay, and I'm going to try to push through the detail, but I want you to see it and picture it as we're going through the detail. That's kind of the idea. It kind of helps me figure it out. Now he said to Moses, come up to the Lord, you and Aaron, Nadab and Abihu, and 70 of the elders of Israel, and worship from afar. And Moses alone shall come near the Lord, and they shall not come near, nor shall the people go up with him. So Moses came and told the people all the words of the Lord and all the judgments. And all the people answered with one voice and said, all the words which the Lord has said we will do. And Moses wrote all the words of the Lord, and he rose early in the morning and built an altar at the foot of the mountain, and 12 pillars according to the 12 tribes of Israel. Then he sent young men of the children of Israel who offered burnt offerings and sacrificed peace offerings of oxen to the Lord. And Moses took half of the blood, put it in basins, and half of the blood he sprinkled on the altar. Then he took the book of the covenant and read it in the hearing of the people. And they said, all that the Lord has said we will do, and be obedient. How many times have they said that so far? 3. 3 times. They've said it 3 times now. And Moses took the blood, sprinkled it on the people, and said, when I read this, I always wonder how many people. Was it all 2 million people or however many people? Did he stand there all day long sprinkling blood on every single person? It just says, and he sprinkled it on the people. So I don't know. I always wonder. I know, right? Maybe he just kind of tossed it up in the air and the wind carried it. Anyway. And said, this is the blood of the covenant which the Lord has made with you according to all these words. In other words, he said, y'all promised. Here's the blood to prove it. Okay. Then Moses went up, also Aaron, Nadab, and Abihu, and 70 of the elders of Israel, and they saw the God of Israel. And there was under his feet, as it were, a paved work of sapphire stone. Wow. I totally missed that, even in my study. And they saw the God of Israel. They saw him. They saw him. And there was under his feet, as it were, a paved work of sapphire stone. And it was like the very heavens in its clarity. But on the nobles of the children of Israel, he did not lay his hand. So they saw God, and they ate and drank. Wow. 70 elders of Israel. Moses, Aaron, Abihu, and somebody else, Nadab, all got to see God and have a carry-in dinner. Wow, that is awesome, man. Woo. Then the Lord said to Moses, come up to me on the mountain and be there, and I will give you the tablets of stone and the law and commandments which I have written, that you may teach them. So Moses arose with his assistant Joshua, and Moses went up to the mountain of God, and he said to the elders, wait here for us until we come back to you. Indeed, Aaron and Hur are with you. If any man has a difficulty, let him go to them. Then Moses went up into the mountain, and a cloud covered the mountain. Now the glory of the Lord rested on Mount Sinai, and the cloud covered it 6 days. And on the seventh day, he called to Moses out of the midst of the cloud. So that means that Moses climbed the mountain and he sat up there for 6 days by himself, waiting in a cloud. Wow. And on the seventh day, he called to Moses out of the midst of the cloud. The sight of the glory of the Lord was like a consuming fire on the top of the mountain in the eyes of the children of Israel. So, they know Moses is up on the mountain in a cloud. When God comes down, it's like a fire has just consumed the mountain. As for this Moses fellow, we don't know what happened to him. He went up on the mountain and he hasn't came back yet. But we did see a consuming fire that burnt the entire mountain. So Moses is probably dead. Now you kind of see why they said what they said. It's not right what they said. They shouldn't have done that. But they saw a consuming fire. To them, the mountain just burned up. Moses probably burned up with it, right?
I think just wanted to jump to conclusions.
They did. They jumped to conclusions, that's for sure. So Moses went into the midst of the cloud and went up into the mountain. And Moses was on the mountain 40 days and 40 nights. Who else was 40 days and 40 nights? 40 days and 40 nights. No, Noah was a long time. Years. Huh? Yeah, it rained for 40 days and 40 nights, but he was out on the water for a long time. And then Jesus was in the wilderness for 40 days and 40 nights. And Moses was on the top of the mountain for 40 days and 40 nights. All right, so here in chapter 25, when we get here, okay. Now, I just threw that out there to make y'all think, and maybe y'all can study it. All right, so here in chapter 25, God is about to ask for some things. Okay? God needs our help. Same way that he asked for us to give an offering to the church, right? He's asking for something. He's like, okay, guys, I need some help. All right? And then after that, he's going to tell them what they're going to do with everything. Okay, so chapter 25. The Lord spoke to Moses, saying, speak to the children of Israel that they bring me an offering. From everyone who gives it willingly with his heart, you shall take my offering. And this is the offering. Now, does that mean that if you're not willing to give the offering, that he's not accepting it? I would say probably. If you come in here and you just toss it in because you think you should, you might not want to toss it in. He wants you to give it willingly. He wants you to willingly give it to him, because it means nothing if you're not willingly giving it to God. That's my take on this. Okay. Speak to the children of Israel that they bring me an offering. From everyone who gives it willingly with his heart, you shall take my offering. And this is the offering which you shall take from them: gold, silver, and bronze, blue, purple, and scarlet thread, fine linen and goat's hair, ram skins dyed red, badger skins, and acacia wood, oil for the light, and spices for the anointing oil and for the sweet incense, onyx stones and stones to be set in the ephod and in the breastplate. And let them make me a sanctuary that I may dwell among them, according to all that I show you. That is the pattern of the tabernacle and the pattern of all its furnishings, just so you shall make it. About this time, if I was Moses, I would have a great big pad of paper and a pen. Because there ain't no way, it blows my mind that Moses could remember this. Because he does. He remembers everything God gave it to him. So I guess God allows him to remember it. But me, I never could. God would have to give it to me.
Moses wrote a cheat sheet down on his floor.
Is that what it was? Okay, yeah, that's what it is. I know, right? Now, here's what they're going to do, okay? Now, a side note, before we get into it, a cubit is somewhere between 17 and 20 inches. Some people it's 17, some places it's 20 inches. Probably something like that. 17 to 20, that's probably about 17 to 20 inches, about that. All right, so keep that in your mind as we go through this. And they shall make an ark of acacia wood. 2.5 cubits shall be its length, 1.5 cubits its width, and 1.5 cubits its height. And you shall overlay it with pure gold, inside and out you shall overlay it. And you shall make on it a molding of gold all around. You shall cast 4 rings of gold for it and put them in the corners. 2 rings shall be on one side, 2 rings on the other side. And you shall make poles of acacia wood and overlay them with gold. You shall put the poles into the rings on the sides of the ark, that the ark may be carried by them. The poles shall be in the rings of the ark. Now, if y'all ain't figured out, that's the ark up there. I know it's a small picture. I wish I could have found a bigger one. I ran out of time. The poles shall be in the rings of the ark. They shall not be taken from it. And you shall put into the ark the testimony which I give you, the 10 commandments. You shall make a mercy seat of pure gold. 2.5 cubits shall be its length, and 1.5 cubits its width. Basically a lid, okay? That's the mercy seat, is a lid for the box, okay? And you shall make 2 cherubim of gold, of hammered work you shall make them, at the 2 ends of the mercy seat. Make 1 cherubim at one end, and the other cherubim at the other end. You shall make the cherubim at the 2 ends of it, of one piece with the mercy seat. So that's all one piece, the lid and the angels. And the cherubim shall stretch out their wings above, covering the mercy seat with their wings. And they shall face one another. The faces of the cherubim shall be toward the mercy seat. You shall put the mercy seat on top of the ark. And in the ark you shall put the testimony that I give you. And there I will meet with you, and I will speak with you from above the mercy seat, from between the 2 cherubim, which are on the ark of the testimony, and everything which I will give you in commandment to the children of Israel. So you've got the mercy, or the ark with the mercy seat, which is the lid, and then you've got the 2 angels bent down with their wings covering them like this over top of them, and then you have the poles, one on either side, that go through rings, okay, and they're never supposed to be taken out because no one can ever touch it again after this. So in order to put the wood through the rings, you would have had to reach down and grab a hold of a ring and pull it up and slide the pole through it in order to get it in. So he said, never take it out, because you can never, ever, ever touch this ever again. Okay? Now, select the next slide. All right. The table for the showbread. All right. You shall also make a table of acacia wood. 2 cubits shall be its length, 1 cubit its width, and 1.5 cubits its height. And you shall overlay it with pure gold, and make a molding of gold all around. You shall make for it a frame of a handbreadth all around it. Basically the ledge that you see on the side there, okay? And you shall make a gold molding for the frame all around it. And you shall make for it 4 rings of gold, and put the rings on the 4 corners that are at its 4 legs. The rings shall be close to the frame as holders for the poles to bear the table. And you shall make the poles of acacia wood, overlay them with gold, that the table may be carried with them. You shall make its dishes, its pans, its pitchers, and its bowls for pouring. You shall make them of pure gold, and you shall set the showbread on the table before me always. Anybody remember a specific time when showbread was used in the Bible?
David.
man. David running from Saul. His men are starved, man. They are hungry. And they come to the tabernacle that was set up, okay? And they go in and they go, man, we're hungry. Do you have any food? Now, this bread, as we get further down the road, we're going to find out this bread is for the priests and the priests only. Okay? Nobody else can eat this bread. And David comes in and goes, man, we're starved. You got anything? And the priest says, well, we got this bread on our show table, right? And so he gives it to them and they eat it. We'll get to that story way down the road. But that's just the first thing I think of when I think of this image is David coming in to get showbread for his men. Okay? Yes.
I can't help it that my name is associated with food.
I know, right? every time I see you, I think of this bread.
Well, I'm always hungry. I can't help that.
I know, right?
God made me that way.
God made you that way. Next slide. The golden lampstands. Verse 31. You shall...
Good thing they stole all that gold from the Egyptians when they left.
God made them take it because he had all this planned. Again, he knows what he's doing. He's way out ahead of everybody else. No matter where we're at, God's way out ahead of us. You know? And so this is, you got it. There's a lot of gold used here. A lot of it. All right. You shall also make a lampstand of pure gold. The lampstand shall be of hammered work, its shaft, its branches, and its bowls. Its ornamental knobs and flowers shall be of one piece. And 6 branches shall come out of its sides. 3 branches of the lampstand out of one side, 3 branches of the lampstand out of the other side. 3 bowls shall be made like almond blossoms on one branch. Where are we at? 3 branches of the lampstand on one side. 3 bowls, okay. With an ornamental knob and a flower. I just wanted to look at it because I wanted to picture it, okay? And 3 bowls made like almond blossoms on the other branch with an ornamental knob and a flower. And so for the 6 branches that come out of the lampstand, on the lampstand itself, 4 bowls shall be made like almond blossoms, each with its ornamental knob and flower. And there shall be a knob under the first 2 branches of the same, a knob under the second 2 branches of the same, and a knob under the third 2 branches of the same, according to the 6 branches that extend from the lampstand. Their knobs and their branches shall be of one piece. All of it shall be one hammered piece of pure gold. You shall make 7 lamps for it, and they shall arrange its lamps so that they give light in the front of it. And its wick trimmers and their trays shall be of pure gold. It shall be made of a talent of pure gold with all these utensils. And see to it that you make them according to the pattern which was shown to you on the mountain. Next slide. Now, that was really small too. I wish I could find bigger slides. Sorry, guys. The tabernacle. Moreover, you shall make the tabernacle with 10 curtains of fine woven linen and blue, purple, and scarlet thread. With artistic designs of cherubim you shall weave them. The length of each curtain shall be 28 cubits, and the width of each curtain 4 cubits. And every one of the curtains shall have the same measurement. 5 curtains shall be coupled to one another, and the other 5 curtains shall be coupled to one another. And you shall make loops of blue yarn on the edge of the curtain on the selvage of one set, and likewise you shall do on the outer edge of the other curtain of the second set. 50 loops you shall make in one curtain, and 50 loops you shall make on the edge of the curtain that is on the end of the second set, that the loops may be clasped to one another. And you shall make 50 clasps of gold. There's a lot of reading of all this. So let's kind of skip down here a little bit because he goes through how to build this exactly. And if you look at it, you can, I mean, if you could see it, it follows along pretty good. Okay. Hush. Let's see. Let's go down to
Is everything in that thing made of gold?
gold. Yes.
Gold and a lot of the finest linen.
Yes. All the finest
What was the
linens.
finest linen at back then? I mean,
They had it from, they had all the yarn and all the wool and all the stuff. It came from sheep. They had sheep back then.
When I was a kid, my dad made one of those in a small thing for Sunday school. And he put all the stuff in it. And he made it narrowed down to those specs. But small.
It's really cool if you look it up online. This thing is amazing. I mean, amazingly cool.
And there's probably a lot of Egyptian cotton in there also.
Yeah, everything.
You know, they took so much treasure from Egypt, and at the time, I mean, even still, some of today, Egyptian cotton is some of the finest, fabric that you can get.
Yes, that was for God's house. It was the best, the best of the best. Okay, so let's go down to the next one. And so we're down to verse 27. The next slide.
Sorry.
There we go. All right. The altar of burnt offering. You shall make an altar of acacia wood, 5 cubits long and 5 cubits wide. The altar shall be square, and its height shall be 3 cubits. You shall make its horns on its 4 corners. Its horns shall be of one piece with it, and you shall overlay it with bronze. So this is the first piece that's not gold. Okay. Also, you shall make its pans to receive its ashes, and its shovels, and its basins, and its forks, and its fire pans. You shall make all its utensils of bronze. You shall make a grate for it, a network of bronze. And on the network you shall make 4 bronze rings at its 4 corners. You shall put it under the rim of the altar beneath, that the network may be midway up the altar. And you shall make poles for the altar, poles of acacia wood, and overlay them with bronze. The poles shall be put in the rings, and the poles shall be on the 2 sides of the altar to bear it. And you shall make it hollow with boards, as it was shown you on the mountain, so shall they make it. Next slide.
That was made with bronze so they could burn fire in.
Yes. And they had the grating so that they could scoop out the ashes at the end. They put the grating on the top and around the sides so that the ashes could, a fire pit, you have to have some way for the air to get through and up. You can't build a fire pit in a hole because there's no air down there. As it burns, it takes up all the oxygen. So that's why they have the grating around the outside. Okay. All right. The court of the tabernacle. You shall also make the court of the tabernacle. For the south side there shall be hangings for the court, made of fine woven linen, 100 cubits long for one side, and its 20 pillars, and their 20 sockets shall be bronze. The hooks of the pillars and their bands shall be silver. Likewise, along the length of the north side there shall be hangings 100 cubits long, with its 20 pillars and their 20 sockets of bronze, and the hooks of pillars and their bands of silver. Along with the width of the court on the west side shall be hangings of 50 cubits, with their 10 pillars and their 10 sockets. The width of the court on the east side shall be 50 cubits. Hangings on one side of the gate shall be 15 cubits, with their 3 pillars and their 3 sockets. And on the other side shall be hangings of 15 cubits, with their 3 pillars and their 3 sockets. For the gate of the court there shall be a screen 20 cubits long, woven of blue, purple, and scarlet thread, and fine woven linen made by a weaver. It shall have 4 pillars and 4 sockets. All the pillars around the court shall have a band of silver. Their hooks shall be of silver, and their sockets of bronze. The length of the court shall be 100 cubits, and width 50 throughout, and the height 5 cubits, made of fine woven linen, and its sockets of bronze. All the utensils of the tabernacle for all its services, all its pegs, and all the pegs of the court shall be of bronze. So he's got a gate in there. There's 15 cubits on each side of the gate, 100 cubits long, 50 cubits wide. And then you can see there, the first thing going through the gate, that is your altar. That's the altar of sacrifice. Okay. The next thing that you see, little thing between the altar and the tent, we're getting ready to get to later. Then he tells us how to care for the lampstands. I'm not going to read that. And then he gets to garments of the priesthood, verse 28. Now take Aaron your brother and his sons with him from among the children of Israel, that he may minister to me as priest. Aaron and Aaron's sons, Nadab, Abihu, Eleazar, and Ithamar. And you shall make holy garments for Aaron your brother, for glory and for beauty. So you shall speak to all who are gifted artisans, whom I have filled with the spirit of wisdom, that they may make Aaron's garments to consecrate him, that he may minister to me as priest. And these are the garments which they shall make: a breastplate, an ephod, a robe, a skillfully woven tunic, hat, turban, whatever. Tunic. What's a tunic? The tunic is the...
The tunic is what goes around.
Yeah,
Like
that
the
part. The coat. Okay, the tunic, and then the turban, the hat, and then a sash. So they shall make holy garments for Aaron your brother and his sons, that he may minister to me as priests. Next slide. Another small one. Okay. All right, the ephod. They shall take the gold, blue, purple, and scarlet thread and the fine linen, and they shall make the ephod of gold, blue, purple, and scarlet thread, and fine woven linen artistically worked. It shall have 2 shoulder straps joined at its 2 edges, and so it shall be joined together, and the intricately woven band of the ephod, which is on it, shall be of the same workmanship, made of gold, blue, purple, and scarlet thread, and fine woven linen. Then you shall take 2 onyx stones and engrave on them the names of the sons of Israel, 6 of the names on one stone and 6 names on the other stone in order of birth, with the work of an engraver in stone, like the engravings of a signet. Today they'd bring them down to my shop and I'd just laser engrave in things. You shall engrave the 2 stones with the names of the sons of Israel. You shall set them in settings of gold, and you shall put the 2 stones on the shoulders of the ephod as memorial stones for the sons of Israel. So Aaron shall bear their names before the Lord on his 2 shoulders as a memorial. You shall also make the settings of gold, and you shall make 2 chains of pure gold like braided cords, and fasten the braided chains to the settings. Next slide. That one's a little bigger. The breastplate. You shall make the breastplate of judgment, artistically woven according to the workmanship of the ephod. You shall make it of gold, blue, purple, and scarlet thread, and fine woven linen. You shall make it. It shall be doubled into a square. A span shall be its length, and a span shall be its width. And you shall put settings of stones in it. 4 rows of stones. The first row shall be a sardius, topaz, and an emerald. This shall be the first row. The second row shall be a turquoise, a sapphire, and a diamond. The third row is jacinth, an agate, and an amethyst. And the fourth row, a beryl, an onyx, and a jasper. They shall be set in gold settings. And the stone shall have the names of the sons of Israel, 12 according to their names, like the engraving of a signet, each one with its own name. They shall be according to the 12 tribes. You shall make chains for the breastplate at the end, like braided cords of pure gold. And you shall make 2 rings of gold for the breastplate, and put the 2 rings on the 2 ends of the breastplate. Then you shall put the 2 braided chains of gold in the 2 rings, which it tells basically how to attach these things, because you're going to put the ephod and the breastplate together to make one unit that they're going to put on over themselves. And then he gets to verse 31. You shall make the robe of the ephod of all blue. There shall be an opening for his head in the middle of it. It shall have a woven binding all around its opening, like the opening of a coat of mail. Anybody know what a coat of mail is? You know, the guys that,
The night.
the jousting, the knights, you know, that armor.
Mail is the chains that all go together and make fabric that you can't cut through.
Right. Y'all have seen that, right? The metal weaving. They shark suit. When they put that metal chainmail on when they go to diving with sharks, that's the same thing. It's made the exact same way.
Two crazy things.
I know, right?
And that doesn't like make it hard to get back to the surface.
That's what they wear.
It's heavy. Isn't it?
It would be kind of heavy, but they want to stay down too. So, when they're diving, they throw that on, they go down. Actually, it's kind of, when you're in dangerous water, I'd rather have that than nothing. But it does save. Anyway.
Well, I still wouldn't want to be dangerous waters.
No, me either. So that it does not tear. And upon its hem you shall make pomegranates of blue, purple, and scarlet all around its hem, and bells of gold between them all around. Anybody remember what the bells are for?
In case he stops moving.
But he dies.
Right. When he goes into the Holy of Holies, if he dies, then the bells stop. As long as he's in there jingling, I'll tell you, if I was to go in there, I'd be doing this. Don't pull me out. I'm in here. Right? I ain't stopping. I'll be jumping up around. So that's what the bells were for, to let them know. It says a golden bell and a pomegranate, a golden bell and a pomegranate upon the hem of the robe all around. And it shall be upon Aaron when he ministers, and its sound shall be heard when he goes into the holy place before the Lord, and when he comes out, that he may not die. You shall also make a plate of pure gold and engrave on it, like the engraving of a signet, holiness to the Lord. Wonder where that was. Plate of pure gold, engrave on it, holiness to the Lord. Is it something he wore around his neck like a necklace?
No, it goes on a turban.
Okay.
Keep reading.
And you shall put it on a blue cord, that it may be on the turban. There it is.
I like that.
I know,
I'm pretty
right?
sure you can kind of see it in the last picture.
You could?
Oh, yeah, it is.
Well, I can.
It's in his
He's
lap.
holding,
Hey.
he's holding it in his hand.
All right, we don't need
Oh,
no
okay.
commentary from the peanut gallery.
It's on the front of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. All
Can you
right.
see that?
Yeah, I can see it. All right. So that it may be on Aaron's forehead. It's on his forehead. That Aaron may bear the iniquity of the holy things which the children of Israel hallow in their holy gifts. And it shall always be on his forehead, that they may be accepted before the Lord. You wouldn't want Aaron to forget his hat one day. Oh man, I forgot my hat. You shall make the turban of fine linen, you shall make the sash of woven work. For Aaron's sons you shall make tunics, and you shall make sashes for them, and you shall make hats for them, for glory and beauty. So you shall put them on Aaron your brother, and on his sons with him, and you shall anoint them, consecrate them, and sanctify them, that they may minister to me as priests. And you shall make for them linen trousers to cover their nakedness. They shall reach from the waist to the thighs. They shall be on Aaron and his sons when they come into the tabernacle of meeting, or when they come near the altar to minister in the holy place, that you do not inquire iniquity and die. It shall be a statute forever to him and his descendants after him. Do you know why he made him do the trousers? Tracy pointed this out one time when we were studying a couple years ago.
First time they made underwear.
It's the first time they made underwear. Remember, he says you can't go up onto the altar because, you would show yourself, because the altar's up high and you're up there bending over and there are people down there and they would see you. So he made them make underwear for them.
And trousers.
So that when they climbed up on the altar to do their sacrifices, people couldn't see stuff down there.
I was about ready to say it sounded like knickers.
That's pretty much what it was, right? Tracy pointed that out one time when we were studying. I was like, wow, that's awesome. That's pretty cool. I think we're going to end right there. Aaron, if you want to read on, but I think we're going to end there because it's getting late. But we're going to pick up in the next section. So a lot of this it's just the consecrations, things that they got to do. It gets really,
Long-winded.
yeah, it's really long-winded, and at 8 o'clock, it's probably time for people to start getting tired.
I always wondered why all of this was included in the Bible. Like, what purpose does it serve us to know all of these details?
Right.
But then, when I was studying about David, and when he moved the ark, the priests were killed because they touched the ark. It said that the reason they were killed was because they didn't follow the instructions given to them of how they were supposed to move it.
Right.
So when you was talking about how Moses remembered it, he probably wrote it down somewhat
Yeah.
so that he could pass that information along to the next guy of how this was supposed to be.
How this works.
It was the blueprint
Right.
of how
Worshiping God at that time.
So even though it doesn't really pertain to us, it does because even the smallest details are important to God.
Right. Everything is. And that's the reason that we read this, and the reason that it's here, the reason for Deuteronomy and Leviticus and Numbers and the end of Exodus here. All of this for the next few weeks is going to be a lot of this. And you have to understand, it's important that you read it, whether I read through the whole thing or not, which I probably won't. We'll probably skim the next few weeks to get some of the higher points, but you really need to read it, because reading this, like she was saying, takes you later on. When you read something, you go, oh, that's why they did that. Oh, that's why that's like that. Oh, that's how come they did that. That's why it's in here. Why is it, like she's saying, a lot of times we read through this and we're like, we don't need to know this. And then you get down the road and you're like, well, why in the world they do that? Well, that's why, because you didn't read that back there. These are the instructions. These are God's, laws and his rules and regulations that he implied with everything that they were doing back then. Everything had God had, even the smallest details meant something to God. And so later down the road, just like what I said here, God said, put the poles in the Ark of the Covenant and don't ever touch it ever again. And they're moving it wrong. And they've got it on a cart. They're not carrying it, because later in Deuteronomy and that he explains exactly how to move it. Well, they had to carry it on their shoulders, and they had to move it a specific way. And they had it on this cart, and David was moving it across the thing, and they hit a chug hole, and it wobbled, and a guy walking beside didn't want it to fall. He was doing his duty, right? And so he reaches up to stop it. Bam! He drops dead. Just like that. Bam! You don't do God says. Bam! But there's rules, there's regulation. If you're reading that and you didn't know what he said before, you would think, man, that's cruel. Why would he do that? He was just stopping it. He was just trying to help. Why would God kill him? That's evil. That's mean. No, it's not. God said, this is how you do this. This is how you move this piece of whatever, And if you don't do it right, I'll kill you. It's a warning. It's there, And that's why these things are in there. But we are going to kind of skim through a lot of it just to kind of get through that, because I think most of us have already read it. And if you haven't, read it anyway. That's what the Bible reading is for. And then we'll just kind of skim through it, and I'll throw in a little commentary and we'll be done. All right. All right. Anybody got any questions about any of this besides the slave thing? All right, let's pray. Lord, thank you for this time that we've been able to come together and just kind of enjoy reading your word. Some of it may not make a whole lot of sense to us now. Some of it may never make any sense to us, but Lord, it's there for a reason. And Lord, I just thank you for giving us your word, giving us your promises, showing us that every single detail matters to you. Lord, thank you for allowing me to be where I am. Thank you for this church. Lord, we pray for each and every member, every person that comes in here. We pray for this country. We pray for our cities, Lord. Lord, we pray that you just watch over us. No matter what happens in our lives, no matter what happens in the country, we know you're in charge. It's really hard to think about sometimes, but we know that you're in charge. Lord, thank you for watching over us. Go with us. Keep us safe as we go home. Lord, just bless us the rest of the week. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen.
So I